understand. Yeah. So, okay. So we've got 13 people on here now.
Cool.
So, tell me what's happening with your week. Like, just tell me what's going, like, business wise, like what's going on ever since it
Yeah.
started.
Yeah. So, we closed, I think it was March 13th. We closed both galleries, so 2 galleries in Lafayette. One I closed permanently. I just decided, like, I have 2 galleries in one city. It's not efficient, number one, and it's not a good use of my resources as I start to look around and, really kind of feel into what's the most essential thing to keep this going. So I closed that one. So that was some blogging was involved in that, just reaching out. But I mean, the same artists are here at the bank, at the pop-up that we've been at for over a year.
Yeah.
And the pop-up is this big bank gallery is going for at least another year. And so downsizing was just, oh, that's our alarm. Downsizing was just a really good thing to do.
Yeah.
And
how did your landlord, how was that situation? Because mine was really bad.
Shoot, man, Jen, I heard about that. My landlord that when I closed the other one, I was in good standing. She was like, I totally get it. I understand why you're doing this. She said, just let's do a 30-day prorated. And so like, okay. And then the landlord here at the bank just said, originally our license for the pop-up was going to end in September. We kind of do it in like 9-month increments.
Yeah.
Before I closed the other little gallery, which is 850 square feet, I wanted to make sure that we had somewhere else to land, and really to land while we figure things out, to buy ourselves some time.
Right.
As all this takes new shape.
Right.
And he said, oh yeah, you're good. You can stay for at least a year. And that gave me some breathing room to know that when I contacted my artists, all I had to do was say, I'm letting you know that this is happening, but there's nothing that you need to do right now.
Yeah.
We'll move the art. We might send some things back that we've had for a while. And business wise, it's just been reaching out, saying hello, checking on people.
Yeah. So much of it is about communication, right? I mean, I always find, with my artists, like, I feel like I'm either over communicating and sending them these like big, long mom email kind of thing, and then I feel like an idiot, or, I'm not communicating enough, or, it's difficult. And so much of it is communication, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. With the deal, with buyers or, so.
I don't know what time it is. It's almost, but this is the classic. This is when I knew, like, it was the first week of shelter in place, and we thought it was only going to last 2 weeks. I don't know if you remember that, but back here in California,
yes.
At the very, very beginning, it's like, oh, 2 weeks, and we were like, whoa, no. But it just seemed like it's going to be so much bigger than that. Well, I had these clients that were, I had the biggest lead sheet I've ever had, Jen, before this thing hit. I don't have it anymore.
Lovely.
But this one great couple that was really having a fun time working with them. And I was sourcing from, other places and cities and stuff. And it was really fun. And we were talking about bringing work in for trial. And they emailed me back, and like that week, and the following week after the lockdown, and the email stuck with me so much that I can tell you verbatim what it was, which was, "Dear Jennifer, since the COVID-19 pandemic has been so devastating for us and our businesses, we will not be purchasing any works of art in the next 6 months or perhaps the entire year.
Oh.
Best wishes."
Best wishes. Yeah.
And I was like, who could blame them? Of course, you have to take care of your own, solvency. Right. But it was like, they were just like emblematic of so many, everybody else on the lead,
Everybody. Yeah. I mean, this is the trickle down, the effect, the domino effect of this is going to be, I think, stunning. I think it's going to be, well, I'm kind of a pessimist. I get that from my dad. I think he might be watching actually. So, hi,
I
Dad.
I know my dad was the same way. First of all, he'd say, "What the hell are you doing in the art business?
Oh, yeah,
What are you
totally.
selling pictures? I don't get it."
Yeah.
But I love him. He was, yeah, it's immense. Here's the thing, though. I mean, yes, it's you're right to be thinking that this is stunning and immense, um, because it is. And then, here's the thing, though. It's not going to look the way it looked.
Yeah.
Thing about it is really, and if it does, I think that's a mistake. I
Why do
think,
you think it's a mistake? We should just jump into this because we're supposed to start now. So, I think,
yeah,
yeah, we got 56 people in here. So let me do this official then, because this is very not professional, right? But so yeah, there's quite a few people on here. Okay, so hi, I'm Jen Tuff, and I'm here with Jen Perlmutter. We're Jen squared today, and Jen, I think we met Jen when we were doing a portfolio review, right? That was the first time in San Francisco. And I thought you were so nice. I was like, wow, she was really nice. I really liked her. Anyway, we kind of have a lot of cross-pollinated artists, don't we?
yes.
And Jen has a art gallery in Lafayette, and which she is recently closing the doors on her flagship space, which we can talk about. That's because of COVID. It's kind of that's something that's happened to her that we can discuss. And also she has, as you guys probably all know, this amazing pop-up that she's doing at a bank, also in Lafayette, right? Um, and I've recently moved to Santa Fe. I closed my gallery in Benicia, moved to Santa Fe, started renting a space December 1st, and have never been able to open the doors. My opening was supposed to be April 4th. So, and now, as you guys obviously we're all stuck at home, so I thought I would throw this together with Jen, and we could just talk about what we're all facing, what we're going through, and what this is going to look like on the other end, for artists, for gallerists, for everybody. We were just discussing before we kind of came on that it's definitely going to look better. I think it's going to be different, but I think in some ways it's going to be better, but it's definitely going to be different. So anyway, so Jen, why don't you talk about like your situation right now with COVID and how it's affecting your gallery and the pop-up space and what your plans are.
Jen, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me.
Yay.
I
It's good to see you.
And it's just nice to have this conversation. So thank you for putting it together. So the flagship gallery down on Mount Diablo Boulevard, I had that for 6 years, and man, I mean, I just had a blast there. And we showed so many artists and had. I'm very big on community participation and programming. So that's just me as an artist. So I've been an artist for 25 years. And when I started that gallery, it was all of my work. And then maybe 2-3 months in is when we had our first show integrating other artists. And then we never stopped doing that. Closing the gallery, within, I think, the 10 days of getting our first lockdown, mandated, it was hard emotionally letting go, but it was an easy and understandable decision
Yeah,
to
because
make.
it's business, right? I mean,
Business, and
yeah,
I was running 2 galleries 3 blocks from each other. So resources, you look at, what are my resources to do this, to continue in this livelihood, and then you look at your expenses, and we had the best year we've ever had in 2019 since we opened. And I think we didn't do that out of one of the locations. We did it from everything that we've built for the last 6 years.
yeah.
So it wasn't, I don't judge. I mean, this COVID's going to kill all of our quarterly earnings, whatever, probably for 3 years, but we can always innovate from there. So like letting go of it was difficult, but I'd been thinking about it for a long time, probably 8 months. And I didn't want to let go of it. I didn't want to say goodbye to it for the community that I had built there. But really, we have it here, and we're recognized here, and we're seen. I'm like waving to people outside my window right now.
Oh, are you in the pop-up space right now?
I'm in the pop-up space.
Okay.
I've seen so many like friendly faces out this window that I think I'm going to paint here next week and just set up, because people are like coming by and waving to me. And it's that community feeling is really, for me and my art, connection is always what it comes down to. So we have the space here at the bank for another year at the very least. Yeah. And we'll continue with our programming, but it's going to be different.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about that. So, I mean, for me, I'm not going to have a physical space for a while. I talk to my artists about how, the artists that I represent, how, how that's going to be moving forward. I have some plans in place, and I know you do too, which we can talk about. I mean, one of the things that I worry about the most with, both you and I are closing spaces. What does that mean for artists who, emerging artists who, want to get shows? They want to get their work seen. I'm concerned about that on a really large scale, what that's going to look like. Because so many galleries like us, like smaller galleries or mid-tier galleries, we were, it was rough. It's not a business that you go into to make a bunch of money.
That's right.
And then when this happened, it's kind of like the nail in the coffin. But the concern for me is, how are all these artists now, when they previously relied on smaller galleries like us to show their work, whether group shows or solo or represent them, how that's going to look like. So how many artists aren't going to be seen now? And they can't depend on that regular path that has been in place for so long, at least in the, the last century, really. Yeah. If you start out at a small gallery and then you move to mid-tier and then higher up and, possibly get into museums, et cetera. That's really concerning. So, I think artists are going to have to spend a lot more time promoting themselves. And so what do you think that's going to look like? What do you think artists can do now? And
well, I think what artists can do now.
You got to take off your glasses for this one, right? We should have cocktails. That's what we should.
Totally. Wear the So, okay. Yes. Artists, I don't feel sorry for artists.
No.
I'm not concerned for artists. My concern is for our communities. Mm. Mm-hmm. And those now, and then if you step back and you go, well, what makes a community? What makes a community is maybe different for everyone, but I'll tell you that a lot of it is a cultural spirit that comes out of that community. Mm-hmm. So why I'm not concerned for artists? Because they're creators. Now, if your path of like, small galleries and nonprofit organizations into, my emerging gallery, into my mid-tier, into my museum, if your ultimate goal is to be in a museum or your mid-tier or your bigger gallery, I would just really take the time right now as an artist to ask yourself, what do you want? What's important? Yeah. Why are you doing this?
Why are you doing this? Yeah.
Doing this? Mm-hmm. I asked myself that question a long time ago, and when I got to it, my path was really clear. And when as soon as you start to say, well, how will I be seen? Where will I show? You know what? We're all asking those questions. So lean on each other and say, if it's an exhibition that you want, then ask yourself why. So the whole world is changing. This isn't just happening to the art market, art business. It's such a small cog in the greater, global universe. We do this stuff as artists. We make stuff out of stardust. Just, why? because we want to connect, because we want to share, because we want to show other people. Those are all good reasons. Like, okay, then dig into them and find ways to do that outside of some building or place or representative. I mean,
Yeah.
just, you are a creator. That's what you're the best at. That's why you and I are sitting here. And it's why these people are on the call. They've decided that's what they know. I know I love to make art. I know I like to express myself. If connecting with others weren't a thing, you wouldn't be on this call, because it wouldn't matter where you were, you know, whether you were going to put all your stuff online or go to a gallery or do a fair, or do a show. All those things I just mentioned are either going to create your livelihood, like I want to make money, and this is what I don't want to do anything but make art. Well, reality is, this is a huge reality check for you if that's it. Because dropping your bag at someone's door and asking them to do all the unpacking, that's not going to work anymore. You
Yeah.
can either decide, if teaching is right for you, then that's perfect. Online teaching, you can do that. Like, you can lead that. Jen, you have all these videos of your past classes. That's beautiful. Like, you could still, you know, so that's a thing. But if your goal is to connect, then you go about it one way. Everyone lives somewhere, right? You all live in a community. Whatever community that community is suffering. And it's not because they don't have an art gallery on the corner. It's because there's a lack of connection between their residents. Well, you might have a lack of connection between the collector and your art. So what I'm saying is, here, I'm going to sum it up by one thing that my husband and I were talking over breakfast, and this is the key. This is the key.
This is the key.
This is the key. This is like, you know, they get you down the funnel. I'm going to tell you the one thing that's going to solve.
Yeah.
But no, the key is, whatever you want, figure out how to do that for someone else. So if you want to make more money, help other people make more money. If you want to have your art scene, help other people have their art scene. And what does that look like? Hey, around here in my town of Lafayette, you know, the restaurants are still open. We're going to do something with the businesses locally to get artwork out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the parks, some of the parks are still open. I'm going to paint in the window. There are things you can do, you know.
Yeah.
I think if you try to tackle this on a global level, what's the big old messy art world, it's too much.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you know who Paul Klein is? He's an artist. Yeah. He's a really interesting guy, really smart. He said, you're talking about, you know, the whole art world. He says it's sort of like a bunch of little villages, you know, that there isn't like one. I loved that, you know, the way he summed that up, and it's true.
Yep.
So what are you thinking that, you know, artists can do, like, like, I've been thinking about what artists can do now during this lockdown. You know, I've had a lot of people ask me, like, you know, I need to get everything online, and I need to, you know, and, you know, and they're worried. Everyone's freaking out. I mean, I'm freaking out too, you know. We're all worried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My freakouts are a little bit different. Like, my trouble this week was really out of, I was just weary. So
Yeah.
weird. You know, we and Jen, you know, we've kind of were paralleling when you were in Benicia. I mean, it's so much work.
Yes.
Blood, tears, and sacrifice to do what we do when we're running out.
So much work. Yeah.
So much work.
Very little monetary for the amount of work that you do, you
right?
know, but you do it for love.
You do it for love. How many times did you sit the gallery Saturday and Sunday and Saturday and Saturday, and like 6 years later your kid's 15 and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I've been gone every Saturday. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot of sacrifice. So while I'm sort of, one way I'm freaking out, but I'm also just weary, thinking to myself, how am I going to get the energy? Where like energy, you know, physical, mental, emotional, and monetary resources to move through this immense wall of fire? It's not going to be overnight. So don't freak out about getting your art online. overnight and
Right.
stop scrambling. Go
Yeah.
back to the beginning and ask yourself, what am I trying to accomplish? If it's connection, then there's a million things. I mean, well, I'm kind of overwhelmed by the amount of like community service projects that could be done with art. And while we're getting back online in a regular kind of like, what can I find for over the couch type thing, believe me, the paintings in here, they go into residences, and they're people are sitting in their homes, and they might feel like they want to make things more beautiful, or they see that their friends have a collection behind them, and they're like, oh, I don't have any art. So there's a lot of things to do. Meanwhile, I don't think artists need to be like freaking out about getting online overnight.
Yeah.
But get your work online. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the truth is, that art wasn't selling very well online before this. So there's no, I mean, if you talk to most dealers, they'll tell you, no, people really want to see the work in person. So if you put a lot of pressure on yourself to like, oh my God, I have to have this commerce website set up, and people are going to have to, I have to have the shopping cart, and I have to do all this. So people, it's not like, I want to be really honest, like art was not selling well online if it was only online, right? I mean, you can talk to artists about them, their experiences with, selling on Saatchi or, other places. And it's Saatchi like seems to be good. I've heard if you get profiled, like as an artist of the month or whatever they do, or but for the most part, most artists I've talked to as far as Saatchi goes, and they get a lot of traffic, it's not that beneficial. So if artists are, rush out, they set, and they're super stressed out right now, like, oh my God, I have to go online. I have to get everything online. The problem is, discoverability, and you're just one artist, and one website in a sea of a bazillion, websites and stuff. And that's where the trick is getting the discoverability. And that's why, artists will put their work on, on Saatchi or, some of those other, artist only websites. And then, if we could be really honest too, Artsy, are you on Artsy? Do you have?
I looked into it like big time.
Expensive.
It's expensive.
So expensive.
Oh, and
yeah.
You're paying for rent?
Yeah.
Like if you're just, you might consider it because if you don't have a brick and mortar.
Right. But I heard they just raised their prices. I think it's around $1,000 a month now, I think.
Oh,
yeah. And then I think they take 20% on top of it. So I don't know. So so then you'd get 30 as a dealer, and then but I'm not sure. I mean, I know when I looked into it before, they were charging $500 a month, and that was like a deal, and then I didn't really believe them. So I was asking other dealers, like at art fairs or whatever, like, what's your experience with it? And is it really great? So now I'm probably going to get sued because they're probably going to see this at some point, right?
Well, I did that kind of with First Dibs. I looked into First Dibs.
Oh yeah, they went out of business, I think, just recently. What? Because of this. Yeah, I think they just closed. I mean, don't quote me on that. I think I read something about that. Yeah.
That's remarkable. So that tells you something right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's an online retailer that was selling, some of my artists were selling work on there. Not, very often, but a few pieces. You're to your point about Saatchi and all of that. Yeah, I totally agree. You could sell a few, but you're still going to have to augment your income with teaching or something else.
Yeah.
But then, since you've done art fairs and you met people through that channel, have you been online with any of them? And what are they saying about the art fairs?
Well, yeah. I think art fairs were really kind of struggling before. I don't know how many of the the art fairs that only allow in galleries, which that's actually kind of a myth, because if you formed a collective with a few other artists, you could get into pretty much almost any art fair you wanted to. So they were having a lot of trouble renting to art, to people. And like when I did Art Market San Francisco last year, I got a raging deal because I just waited to the last minute. So I think like even I think even with, these, more higher end fairs, supposedly that only let in galleries, supposedly, I think they were struggling before this. I mean, that was my take on it. And then when I would talk to other dealers at the fairs, they weren't selling. I mean, it was not, if you really got people talking and being honest about it, it was, they were maybe breaking even. And then a lot of people not selling at all, where it just becomes this money pit. I think the art fairs that will do well and survive. I mean, of course, like Basel, will probably survive, and a couple other ones maybe. But I think the artist art fairs, like the other fair, Super Fine. I hope they survive. They're nice guys. They're really nice guys who started that. And they, it's mostly artists. I think artists are going to be taking on a lot of the exhibiting responsibility, I guess, in a sense, and that's great because then they make 100%. There's no commission split. So that's something that I mean, I really hope that that's what happens, because I think, after COVID, that these art fairs for artists continue and expand, because, there's going to be a lot less opportunities for artists for exhibits in brick and mortar places. I mean, even, like the nonprofit galleries are feeling it, the art centers, they're really feeling this. So it's going to be tough. So I really do hope that the artist art fairs continue.
Yeah.
But yeah, artists are going to have to, they're going to have to become little, business people, little micro businesses, and handle all this.
Yep. Absolutely. They are. It's either that or, shrink and find other ways to connect. But if you want to get your work in front of people to exhibit, and you want to sell that work, then you're going to have to treat it like a business.
Exactly.
And your point about online, creating your own online platform is just, it's really going to get swallowed up if you don't do something to drive traffic there. Your distribution is just ridiculously low compared to the other ones we talked about. And so you've got to do something. What is that something? What do? You partner with other people in your community, and that's the only way to get any kind of traction. Even there was someone in the Facebook group who asked, what does it look like to have a pop-up? Like, I can get my friends there, but how can I, it was Janice, I don't know if she's here, I can get my friends there, but how do I get other people there? And how can I be in a place, where I can like benefit from the businesses around me? Good questions, but if, doing pop-ups, which is a great way to make use of retail storefront property that is empty, it's such a benefit to the community to see like sculpture and art and things in the window. But in order to get people there, you have to really understand where you do it. Like I think like just throwing art up in any place and, taking it over for a weekend is, I don't know if that's like,
it's not enough.
Not enough anymore.
Yeah.
I have found great success in partnering with local businesses and organizations to give them a platform to be seen, to give their nonprofits space to have a fundraiser, to give even local commercial businesses a place to feature their product, hold a seminar on what they do. I mean, why? Because it's just a lot more fun with more people in your space. And if the people around you are doing well, then you're going to be doing well. You're selling a luxury product if that's your goal. And if it isn't sales, then start to understand how your art can benefit in a broader sense. That's just where I come from. My goal is not to be in a museum. Doesn't ring a bell for me.
Well, you've built, when I think about you and your businesses, you have built this such a massive community, and it's totally, it's your, it just seems to come natural for you, naturally. Like it's just, and you've really built like this kind of mini empire in a way, Well, you have, but you've done it by this idea of like giving and giving back and joining with people, and not just giving of your time, of your creativity, and people are drawn to that. And I think it's built your pop-up business for sure. I mean, you partnered with all these people, and there's something really powerful, I think, in just giving things away without, like, I mean, I'm talking about your time and your energy and your love for what you're doing. And artists can do that too, really. I mean, it's always controversial. Like, somebody had posted in the group the other day, like, oh, there was an artist, who was locked down, obviously, like all of us. And she had set up out front of her apartment building, some little, like 12 by 12, paintings that said free art with a little heart on it. And then she was sitting up in the window, I guess, like looking down, and like, but I thought that's so sweet, that's so awesome. But it was kind of a controversial thing. Like, some people were saying artists shouldn't give away anything. They shouldn't, they shouldn't give away, because it demeans or belittles everything that we do. And your philosophy is the total opposite. It's like, give it away. Just, you're not giving away like 12 by, gigantic paintings that you know what I mean? It's not like that, but it's it's just being like common sense with it. And it can be really beneficial.
That's true. Thanks, Jen. I think that artist that was doing that in front of her apartment building,
You know the one I'm talking about?
that is super sweet.
I thought it was so sweet too.
And first of all, this is like unprecedented times. She's not going to do that again.
Right.
She's
right.
2 years. But I mean, you know why she did that? She wanted to connect with the people that were on the sidewalk, and she's
Totally.
So in her apartment.
Which is exactly what art is supposed to do.
Exactly.
And which is what you're doing, and what we just talked about is about connecting with people.
I love that. It's really like I've been here, and like I'm waving to people outside, and I'm like feeling so much better. And she's giving, hey man, I put the lemons out. You can put your art out, whatever you want. And to your point about the community here, I don't give away art, but I will, I have been known to donate, like, create a basket for a fundraiser and put in one of my little 6x6s or something.
Yeah.
Or, give this is what you do as an artist. You decide where you can give, and you give like crazy.
Yeah.
I want my art to be valued. It deserves to be valued. I've been working at it for many years. And so it has a value, at least in my market, for as long as I can move it. So what I can give away is my time, my kindness, my connection, and my space. So that's what I've been very generous with. And, that's it. It's not, I'm not a wealthy person. I don't have a big opulent lifestyle at all. I just like the wealth for me comes through connection and community. So that's the currency.
Mm-hmm.
For me, currency is the exchange of this, like the woman, the artist who put her stuff out on the sidewalk. I do not find fault with that at all. She's not going to be doing it in normal times.
Right.
And I don't run sales and discounts, as a gallerist. We don't like to do that. We're rethinking our language around that right now during shelter in place. So, hey man, this is the time. You have a permission. You have the space and a spot right now to make decisions that are abnormal.
Yeah.
Have people say, right on, great idea.
Yeah, why not?
This is the time to make bold moves.
Yep. And people, I think, are going to be kinder and more, right? Like more compassionate and kind of dial back the judginess, or, and what you said about, like, giving things away, and what we were talking about, like, if you have a website, no one's going to be able to find you. That's a great little calling card, right? Like that, like, so that woman, again, who set up, and is giving away her 12 by 12s out front of her apartment building, those people are going to remember her forever. That is such a powerful marketing tool. um,
Absolutely.
and they're going to go to her website, like, wow, this lady gave me this art, I'm going to go check out her website. They're going to tell their friends. It's always going to be a story. They hang that piece of art on their wall. They're always going to remember that, right? Like, I mean, I don't think her intention was like, oh, what a great marketing ploy, but it turns out that it is that, which is kind of cool. So if you want to get traction to your website,
It, exactly, Jen. I mean, to your point, I mean, there's this fine line. Artists don't want to be salesy. They don't want to be markety. Fine, then don't be. Don't think of it like that. Think about connecting with people
yeah,
and sharing something and offering your point of view and your expression. That's what you do. You self-express. Um, yeah, you bring. Had another story real quick. Early on, when the pop-up was here, and we're having receptions and programming, artist talks, everything's free, right? We're working like 12-hour shifts because we're opening, and then we're staying for the event, and it's not going to be like that anymore. It's
yeah,
packed in here, and there's food out and all that. It's not going to happen anymore. But when we were doing that, it was a lot. It was a lot to put forth. We were doing it because we wanted to share this incredible space, the artists within it. But I know, as a business person, at the end of the day, my profit and loss has to balance out. I can't be just doing this and doing this, or I won't be here.
yeah,
So you bring your whole self with you, and you make those connections, like you said. There's a local restaurant here that's being very community oriented and supportive, and there was a story about someone coming in and saying they have a little shop, and she said, do you have any sesame oil? And he's like, well, we don't sell it, but I'll go in the back. And so he goes into the kitchen and he pours a little cup or a jar of sesame oil and just gives it to her. Oh my God, you would have thought he gave her a pound of gold.
yeah,
The reaction,
yeah,
she is going to be taking every dining night out there. She's going to bring friends and family there. She posted
yeah,
it on social media
yep.
from a jar of sesame oil that didn't put him out. But he didn't ask, I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to get paid for it.
Right,
More than that,
yeah,
we're being asked to take a look at all that.
right,
Because the whole world has been stopped.
yeah,
So you want to get to some questions, Jen, or
yeah. Let's get to some questions. Let's get to some questions. Okay, there's a few here. Let me see. Oh, here's Cynthia. Hi, Cynthia. Okay, so what are you suggesting with the small villages concept? Can you say more? Seems like decentralizing from relying on gallery sales, moving things online. Um, what I meant to say was Paul Klein, who's an artist consultant. He consults with artists about how to move and navigate through the art market. This was his idea or theory, not mine, but I agree with it that there's sort of little villages in the whole entire art market, in a sense. There's like the super high-end Sotheby's auction stuff. There's there's the like Japanese anime village. There's the fiber artist village, the encaustic artists. So he was just a way of saying that sometimes when artists look at like, oh, the art world, it becomes really daunting and scary, and overwhelming, and it's kind of about just finding your village of people. And which, again, Jen P, I think you have great, you've done that. You have a village there for sure. And I felt like that in Benicia. I felt like I had this really awesome group of artists who are so supportive. So that's what I meant to say. That sometimes we think that gallerists or whatever, we're all connected in this sort of big evil empire, and it's right? And it's totally not. I mean, I went to art school, and I thought that too, actually. So I get that. I get that sort of um, yeah. So okay, let's go on to another question. Did you have anything to say about that, Jen
Uh,
P?
I just agree with you. Yeah, I tend to be very kind of localized. I find I have found great success doing that. Just being very hyper local about things. I can't control art world, and it's not a thing really for
Yeah,
me.
it isn't really a thing,
Yeah.
you know. And then when you meet those people too, so, I mean, some of them are total assholes, right? Like they deserve that sort of reputation, right? But most of them aren't. You
Yeah,
know, there's
exactly.
a there's a lot of there's yeah there's a lot of airs that I think gallery owners put on, and put these sort of false walls up, and they do that through attitude, or right, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, are you
Yeah.
kidding? And I'm
And
sure you may have had it said to you before because you're a very approachable person. They're like, artists are like immediate, they're disarmed usually when they meet us or come into the gallery because it's
yeah,
like,
oh, they talk to me.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's really okay. Here's another question. Oh, okay. What are you thinking about for yourselves as gallerists? There's plenty of artists who don't have the technical chops. Can you see options for providing display portals and services to promote their art? Okay, so do you want to address that,
That's a good,
and then
good
I'll touch
question.
on it?
Sure. Um, so the first one, what are you thinking about for yourselves as gallerists? Okay,
Ugh.
I am doing a lot of thinking right now, right? Asking myself questions and listening. What am I thinking? I'm thinking, what is this going to look like? I don't know. Nobody does. I'm thinking, will I be able to make the living that I did last year, this year? I doubt it. So I'm thinking of other ways that maybe I can sell more of my art. That's a thing I'm thinking of, but not every gallerist has that opportunity. I'm also thinking of, I've learned a lot in the last 6 years, and I would love to share that. If there is a
Mm-hmm.
way for me to tie a bow on some of that through, toolkits and online communities that where I can support and mentor artists that are going through this change, I would love to put something like that together because that really sparks me. It excites me as much as getting in the studio. So that's what I follow is things that really excite me. There's plenty of artists who don't have the technical chops. Absolutely. Can you see options for providing display portals and services to promote their art? Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I mean, outside of the regular website, display portals, when I think about me, just how I operate, Jen, in terms of community and local, if there are going to be empty storefronts or businesses that are going to need traction for bringing people back out again, and I'm very tender with that. I am not on a bandwagon of like, let's start this all up again.
Yeah.
Because, well, what are we starting up? We're still in this phase of understanding what it means, just as business owners, take out the art away, because like even the dress shop, like what's happening, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't have the answer for that, but one thing I do know is that we get to create it ourselves. Even everyone on the call now has the opportunity to, you know, um, decide what those rules are out with the art world. Like again, Jen, I mean, that whole art world thing is like feeling like artists used to feel, I used to feel, like I had to be in some kind of circle or I just wasn't going to make it. That's not
Yeah.
the truth.
Right. That isn't the truth. It isn't. Yeah.
Um, sure, I could see options if that made sense. Like if it made sense for, like, if that's all I wanted to do was sell other people's art, then I would say that creating some kind of online experiential thing that was like had some augmented reality in it, had some real vitality to it. Putting up another like drag and drop website, that does not sound good to me. I wouldn't do that. But like something where you could partner with some technical firm that could really create a beautiful experience for people to see work that is virtually in their home, or to get up close with an artist in a studio. That excites me. But that's also a really big project that would require some incredible resources. Not
Yeah.
impossible, but who
Yeah.
knows? The concept of fairs, any kind of social gatherings, going out the window for some. Totally. Yeah. I don't even, one quick thing is, a local arts organization was going to have a weekend show here at the bank on May 15th. And no, I mean, even if we do get the word that we can move about after May 3rd, which we don't know if that's coming, I don't have the heart to do that, because I don't have the heart to ask people to be in a space together. And what is that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I need to kind of ease in. We need to ask ourselves, what's it look like? For me and my team, I think we're in agreement that we want to just like gently take our foot off that pedal and
Yeah.
start calling people and inviting people in a comfortable way to have a private appointment or a private experience or something. It's just not going to be what it was.
No, it's not, for a really long time, I think.
Really long.
Mostly because of the virus, and you touched on that, like, you don't want to be responsible for getting people sick. I mean, when I canceled the grand opening of my gallery, it was kind of at this time when it was still a little squishy, like, oh, is this really a big deal? Like, am I overreacting and then ultimately I thought, you know what? If someone was to get sick, and even if it wasn't my fault and it was from my opening, you know, I can't take that on. I don't want to take that on. It just seemed really irresponsible, and when will that irresponsibility go away? I don't know. I don't know.
Right. I mean, you have to go back to what matters. You have to ask yourself, what matters here? There are big things, to think about and consider. Your art still matters, but the delivery of it is gonna change, and you get to decide what that looks like. I love, like, on a Saturday morning, Facebook and Instagram, all these lives. People
Yeah.
do lives. They're so much fun, and I know that we have a lot of collectors that follow Instagram,
Hmm.
and they're watching you in your studio now, and
Yeah.
there's you know so that's valuable. That is a completely legit way right now to connect with people.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
It really is. And I think, when things start opening up a little bit, I think that, artists can, join together and do a pop-up. They form a collective just for one show. They form a collective for an art fair once art fairs open up again. There's going to be a lots of options and ways to do this. Maybe like what you were saying, there's going to be like a small gathering, like, 8 to 12 people or something, like private opening type things, or, at a gallery, or, at a pop-up space. But, there's going to be so many businesses that are going to go out of business. These pop-up opportunities are going to happen. And it's going to take some, gumption and bravery to approach other business owners, or landlords, hey, can I use your space for this pop-up? But there's power in numbers. Artists can do anything if they gather together. They can pay these huge art fair fees. If they pool their money together, they can pull their money together to rent a pop-up space. Here's a really specific resource called storefront.com, and they rent out storefronts basically for pop-ups, like, for other businesses that do pop-ups and stuff. And they have some that are, have the right lighting and stuff for art, which of course is really important.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so you could get a few artists together, like 10 artists, like in your building where your studio is or whatever, and you guys could rent a space, a pop-up space for a weekend. It's all possible. And I mean, I think artists are going to have to look in those directions moving forward, because if
Yep.
you want people to see your art in person,
Yep.
and that's going to take a while. I mean, my guess is it's going to be, maybe a year, maybe around I mean, I'm hoping things open up around November, October. I don't know.
I feel you too, Jen. I mean, we pushed like 7 different shows, and I mean, I can't commit to them this
Yeah.
year. I mean, I just don't want to be part of this whole rally to it's not about the economy, it's about health. It's a
Yeah.
global question right now that we all should be asking ourselves about what matters and how do I want to participate in the solution. How can I participate in the solution? You know, and for us it's through our art some way.
Yeah, and as art galleries, we are definitely not being part of the solution if we, keep bringing huge groups of people together.
Right.
It's like now, even when I'm watching television or something, I'm like, and I see like a group of people. I mean, it's like, oh wow, look at that, or or they're eating off a buffet or somebody's like, you just. It's I mean, I think our whole thinking is going to shift on this, and it's going to be quite a while before we're not panicky about about stuff.
I think
And
so too. Yeah.
yeah, so does anyone else have any other questions? Let me see here. Are you able to scroll through these too, Jen? Oh, here's one new one.
Let's see.
uh
Having online open studio with Q&A engagement is an important ingredient. Connecting with people, showing the art making. Yeah, absolutely, Cynthia. Showing the art making process is the first thing that we can do. And
Absolutely.
I want to say something else too, which I was thinking of, like we're thinking about our art, thinking about painting, you know, in the process, and every artist has a story. So it really is within you to share that story. That's like, start there. If you don't know where to start, tell me a story. And then when you can understand yourself a little better, like, oh, you know, I don't know, I just love penguins. I don't know what it is, but I saw this movie about a penguin, whatever. I'm just picking that out of the air. And all of a sudden, then you're thinking about conservationism. And then maybe you're thinking about your local wildlife organization. And I'm talking local. Yes, you can National Geographic it, but I also, right here in the town, there's a little, you know, local sustainability group. I mean, I would love to partner with them on something. And now,
Mhm.
so drill down to your core. What makes you you? What makes you where's your why? And then of course and now, like, maybe you're not even painting penguins. It doesn't matter. You love them. That's part of your story. You engage with another organization who's also trying to save them. And then you move forward. And that goes back to we're not giving something away. We're being authentic in who we are and why we're here in the world. You know,
Mhm.
and I'm going to help this other person who also cares about the natural world. And then we can make a bigger impact.
Right. And I think artists often underestimate the power of sort of talking about themselves and their process. You talked about, like, the videos, of people artists working in their studios. Buyers love that. They love that. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel like buyers much rather buy from the artist directly than from a dealer, you
Oh, yeah.
know, because they want that story. They want that connection. They want that connection to that person. And any connection that you can build, whether it's, showing people how you work in your studio, or, the story, like you were saying about the penguins, which is a little weird, but whatever. But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I'm teasing you. I'm sorry. But yeah, like any connection that you can make with people, and that's what it is. It's the storytelling. It's the being authentic. It's just being you. It's not. The hard part is, I think, for artists, because most of them are so introverted, to be able to do that. Like, oh, that's scary and that's whatever. And you just got to get past that. You
Like,
just
yourself. It's not about you. I mean, just as soon as you start to go into that fear, just think of other people, and just, if you don't see yourself as something valuable in the world, then that's where you need to do your work. And if you do, then why are you keeping it hidden? Why aren't you
yeah,
sharing? And I mean, Jen and I can share it, but the collectors would much rather hear it from you. That's why it's so important
absolutely.
for us to get to know you, so
Yeah,
that we can kind of be like, yeah, Mary Oros, I know, isn't she amazing? Let me tell
she
you about.
is amazing, and I think she's on the call too. Hi,
Yeah, and
Mary.
she has her here. And so the more we know our artists, the better job we can do selling the work. But ultimately, collectors love to connect. You know, that they love to hear about these little personal stories about the artists.
They
They do.
do. There's like it's mysterious and it's fascinating. I mean, there's still that sort of that sort of what is it about artists that people they're just entranced by it, and they're it's not, in other words, it's not that hard to impress people with like putting some paint around on your canvas, and they don't like my ex-brother-in-law owns a gallery in Los Angeles, and he says to me like 99% of the people in this country don't only know Warhol and Van Gogh, like that's it, like they so the bar is set pretty low for like understanding, like your art school comrade might be judgy about what you're doing on Instagram, but 99% of the people watching are not. So, and
Right.
you don't need to worry about your art school friend or whatever, it's
If you do, you won't get anywhere.
right.
And, I always go by the law of thirds, which can really hurt sometimes, but it's, 1/3 won't care, 1/3 will hate you, and 1/3 will be like, I like you.
Yeah, that's
So
good.
Betsy has a question. Also, think about how your work media can live on beyond the live aspect. Can you generate a video or print piece or other product that you can sell over and over?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, good point, Bets. Exactly. How can what you make become, oh, I made this piece of work. Well, here's also here's a video of me making the work, and which could be a how-to you could actually sell for a download.
Yeah.
You can sell the original, but you can also print it. Um, you know,
Yeah,
or
and here's an idea too. I mean, while people are in lockdown, I mean, there's also graphic designers who are in lockdown that you could partner with. Maybe you trade them some artwork and they do some really awesome postcards or an exhibition catalog, or something, whatever it is. I mean, they need work too. Maybe you guys help each other out, or a filmmaker, somebody who likes to do film, and they do, you guys work out a trade, or or you pay them if you can afford it.
yep,
um spend that time, because you can get pretty, I think in a few weeks we'll be able to have people come to each other's houses, or I think small
yeah,
groups be
yeah,
okay.
maybe, perhaps. What else do we have here? Personal service. Much bigger opportunity for personal service people comfortable going out. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, here's Helen Danley. She said that hi Helen. She said that a gallerist told her that they're not interested in meeting the artists.
No, that some collectors say that they don't really want to meet the artist. I believe that. Maybe we shouldn't have said all collectors. That there are some collectors who are not comfortable with that.
Yeah, sure. But I would say for the most part, I mean, even if they don't want to meet the artist, they definitely want to know the artist's history, where they went to school, how long they've been making art. I mean, that's, especially if you're looking at art as an investment. I mean, I can see maybe not wanting a personal connection, if they're real collectors that collect for, monetary purposes, maybe in that case, yeah. But I think for the most part, the vast majority of buyers and collectors really do want to know a lot about the artist, would love to meet them. That's my experience anyway.
Yeah, I would agree. Can you look at that one from Kat? She makes a really good point about the person to person art market, or let's call it the person. Yeah, it really is. That's a good phrase for it. The person to person art market, or the person to person exchange, where she sees that the representative would be more of value there to build that relationship. But I'm sorry, that last sentence I just can't abide by that anymore. Artists are typically busy making art, not building client relationships and better websites. I'm just gonna say good luck with that.
Yeah, it's
I mean, I don't. How many gallerists and curators and dealers are out there that you can all just stay in your silos making work.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't like to do it, then hire someone who does like to do it and pay them. Or work at a trade but any business, you need to pay money or time, and invest in that business. Otherwise, I mean, if you're not interested in selling and you're not interested in showing, which I've never met an artist who doesn't want to do either one of those things, then that's fine. You don't have to do those things. You don't have to make a website. You don't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
When the self-publishing industry came around and authors and writers, all of a sudden were like, they had these opportunities to self-publish, and it totally disrupted the whole entire publishing market. And whereas before, there were these gatekeepers of, publishers and literary agents who would, they were the gatekeepers for authors, becoming published. And then when that all blew apart with self-publishing and print on demand and Amazon and all that, artists or writers, sorry, we're kind of in the same place where they're like, well, I don't want to be doing that. I just want to be writing. I don't want to do, any of that other marketing stuff or any of that. And, it's been a few years now, and it's interesting to see that market now. They're much more open to that. Like they've sort of been forced into that. And I think that this virus is going to also kind of force artists into that position, whether they like it or not, that they have to take on a lot of this stuff, because unfortunately, both Jens here, our galleries are closed. And that's, and this is the very early weeks of this.
Yeah.
So, it's only been 3 weeks, and I just, artists are going to have to take that stuff on.
Yeah. And it can look any way that feels good to you. It
doesn't have to be torture.
Doesn't have to be torture. It could be, if you're selling direct, then you only have to sell half as much as you were selling before to make the same amount. So if you are going to sell direct and on a person-to-person kind of market, then that can look like so many different things. I mean, you can get to know your community, and there's going to be people in your community or the adjacent community that are going to be interested in you and your art and believe it.
Yeah.
It's true. So, and you can do that, only doesn't have to consume your week. You could designate it for Tuesdays. It can look any way that feels good. Invent something new. Invent a new way to get this out. In fact, generate some sort of, oh God, everything goes back to gathering. Every time I go right to a project, it goes right to getting people in a room.
Yeah.
So generate some kind of benefit for another organization that might be able to introduce you to people where you could talk about your art. For me, early on, that was it. Was like talking about my art, telling my story. And then that just leads to more connections and opportunity to share your art. And then people will be like, oh, kind of like that. That's amazing. I keep thinking about it. I woke up thinking about it. How much is it?
Yeah. It all comes down to connections.
Yeah. So speaking of which, Cynthia, she says connection matters. Thinking about having, did we do that one?
I think so. Let me see. Ask on Facebook for recommendations for a reputable writer or PR person, website developer, etc. That's a good idea. I highly recommend that. There's 2 really good art writers in the Bay Area that I've hired. DeWitt Chang writes. He's also a critic. And oh God, now I'm blanking on his name. John. He's in Carmel Valley. John Seed, Seed. He's great, you guys. He's great, and he loves to write about art, and that's what he does. And you can hire him to write about your art. a PR person. There's a PR company in Los Angeles called Shoebox PR. I don't know them personally, but I get their emails and stuff, and they seem like a really good group of women. Shoebox PR, they're in LA, and they put out a email newsletter, which is really, I like it a lot. It's called Art and Cake, CAKE. Do you get that one?
No.
Yeah, I like them a lot. They seem like a really good group of women down in LA. Website developer. I don't know any website developers. Do you, Jen?
No, I mean, so website, you have a developer and you have a designer. If they can do both, then hire that person.
I highly recommend Squarespace. I use Squarespace for everything. Do you use that too?
No, I use WordPress, but I'm thinking about Squarespace. It's just that my WordPress site, I've been on it for like 7 years and I have so much content on it. I'm not moving it over.
Actually, I think you can migrate. I think there's some apps that you can use to migrate from nowadays that it's, I don't know. Maybe I'm not remembering that right. But I love Squarespace. I love it. And it has a really easy commerce thing. So if you wanted to sell directly, I use Squarespace for my gallery website, and I use Shopify for my workshops, like online workshops, only because I needed a really robust commerce site, and Shopify isn't that user friendly. Whereas I think Squarespace is really easy.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about that. Gallery owners should not be expected to do the heavy lifting.
Who's that? Who said that?
It's Kat, K-A-T. I don't see the rest of her name. Maybe.
Oh, here's Diane Williams. Oh, Diane. Okay, so Diane Williams, we all know who Diane is, right? We love her. She's one of my artists. So if you want to get in touch with her, you can email me. She said her son is making websites for artists and reasonably priced.
Great.
So if you need to get in touch with, if you don't know Diane, you can get in touch with me and I'll get you in touch with her, who can get you in touch with her son. So, okay, we're at 2:00.
Wow.
Does anybody have any, or it's 2:00 here for me. It's 1:00 for you, Jen.
Okay, yeah. So here, Jane, Jane Burton. She's got some sculpture here in our gallery. Outside of Instagram, how can we connect with collectors if we don't currently have a list? Exactly.
Yeah, that's the problem, right?
Well, it's a problem, but you build your list. Start yesterday. So how do you build a list? You do have a list because you know who's bought your art in the past, and your galleries give you that information, that you are privy to that information. And Jane, you sell and have sold a lot of work in your career, so you ought to have some kind of list. And then beyond that, you've got your friends. And then further than that, you have your organizations that you belong to. You have a network. There's no such thing as a list of collectors that that is.
I wish.
It doesn't exist. You have to cultivate a list of collectors. That's. It says you're outside of IG. How can we connect with collectors? Yeah, you can. If that is your goal, to connect with collectors, then ask yourself that. How would any business connect with a potential customer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I mean, like any business, like how do they grow their business? What are other businesses doing? Maybe not necessarily just look at artists, but look at, self-publishing authors or other micro businesses, the brewery down on the corner or whatever. I mean, like you had mentioned, partnering with other businesses locally and looking at this very small, geographically for a while, to get in the real world situation outside of, online stuff, or give stuff away. There's some dude on Instagram. I don't remember his name. And he gives away every week. He gives away just these tiny 6x6 paintings, and they're nothing. It probably takes him half an hour, right? To whip off one of these. He started this thing where he just every week he gives away these paintings, and for free, no, whatever draws out of a hat. I don't know how he does it, but his audience now is huge. I mean, it's huge. He has like 50,000 followers or something on Instagram. So
That's
it's like, give it away, give it away.
Well, give it away, but at least get an email address.
Yeah, totally. Like that's,
That's the
not being that generous, but they're getting an email address because yeah, for sure.
Speaking of giving things away, when we have free events, sign the book. Oh, you didn't sign the book? Sign the book. I at least give me something to something to add to my list.
Yeah.
So it's free, like the price of reading the New York Times. You got to give them your email address.
That's how you build your list. Exactly.
So there's something. So artists are privy to the names of the buyers from galleries. Here in California, I believe that's a law. Like I've always, can't over the names of collectors, with the caveat that, like, hey, if they contact you for a sale, I trust that you'll send them back to me, if we're in contract. But yeah, there's a law that says you have to know where your paintings are.
Mm-hmm.
The people who buy it don't own the copyright. And if you were to ever do a retrospective or put together a catalog, or you sell your favorite painting, or something that was part of a series, you need to know where it is in the world. That's your right.
Yeah.
I would check with the California lawyers for the arts on that. I'm sure there's verbiage, but that's what I learned a long time ago. And yeah, you should be getting those. And once you have the correct verbiage of the rights to an artist, the rights that an artist has to obtain the address of the people, if you ask, then you send that to the gallery. So there's no like, hey, can I have the address to that last purchase? No, it is like, as seen below, my rights by law, I'm entitled to know the provenance, the ownership of one of my works of art. So I would be so grateful for you to forward that to me. Thank you.
I've had people buy stuff, though, not big pieces. I mean, like small pieces, a couple $100, who don't want to provide that information. So that's where it gets weird. The buyer doesn't want to provide any information about to the artist. Cause I always ask, can I give your info to the artist? And most of the time they're like totally cool with it. But sometimes they're like, no, I don't want to do that.
I had that happen. That's rude. That's really rude.
Yeah. Well,
but, that people are, I guess for smaller items, but still, it has to do with an artist's legacy. I mean, again,
yeah,
some artists are going to care about that and some aren't. But you've seen art books before. That stuff goes deep and far back, and you ought to know, like, if you ever had a retrospective, where that one piece is, so you can contact that person if they haven't been on the secondary market.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and here's Jamie Madison. I see all these names. Hi, you guys. So nice to see you. I hope is everybody healthy? I hope everybody's doing okay. This is such a weird time, isn't it?
It's very. That is the right word.
Really weird. But I would like to do this again. So I'll, and Jen, maybe you'd be up for it too. We come up with a topic or something and just
sure
rattle on about it. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we're all trapped inside, so
Yeah. I wanted to say, I will try. I am kind of getting together this consultancy aspect to the business, and sharing a lot of what I've learned here, so that other artists might have a kind of a lamppost for how to do something, and like I said, there are no rules, and it's time for you to make them. I mean, you've got something that the world needs, and believe in it, and those two things together, plus your story, you can get through all this, and you get to decide what the shape of this new landscape is. We can do it together, but we have to, I think, start reaching across more than ever, you know. So thank you, Jen, for reaching out to me. I really appreciate
Yeah. It was great to see you again.
it. Great to see you again too.
And I think, I think people are going to be after this. I think people in general, like in a larger sense, are going to be, a little kinder for a while, maybe a little softer, um, and because this has been, I wouldn't say it's a humbling experience, but it sort of has, I think it's forced people to sort of realign priorities. And so in that case, if you're nervous about stepping out and showing your work or going on Instagram and doing a video of yourself in the studio and stuff, don't even it's okay. Like just try it. This is, this is the opportunity to do that, you know?
It really is. I love that. Yeah, it's hard to be on video sometimes, but just do it. Just do it. We all love it, and we'll all support you with a bunch of likes.
Yeah.
One more question. You can see when you type in a hashtag how many posts there are for them, right? Which tells you how much attention there is, right? An Instagram note about hashtags, right? So if you want, people follow hashtags if you're on Instagram doing your art and showing your stories. So use them because it's a good way to draw people to your page.
Yeah, definitely. Another little hint.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm about ready to like get invaded by my two dogs, child and husband, who like ran off to the dog park. There's an amazing dog park here. It's like, I think it's 130 acres or something. Yeah, and you can just, the dogs just, run crazy, and yeah, it's really great. So they hit the road so I could have some quiet. But all right, you guys, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Jen. It was so good to see you.
It was good to see you. See you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for attending.